Here we go. It's the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast, episode 37, season 2. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. I'm joined today by the lady from upstairs, a returning guest. 1 week hiatus. Now you're back. Can I get a Buffalo cheer there? Bills?
The Bills make me want to shout.
There we go. Okay. You almost forgot it, didn't you?
No,
you almost forgot it, didn't you?
No. I overdid it last time.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. And we'll focus on sports betting, the top sports news. And if you joined us before, welcome back. Thanks for returning. You can follow us on Twitter, aka X, at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. It's also listed in your episode details from your podcast provider. And we're going to go through a lot of NFL action here today because that is the focal point of the betting world. We'll touch upon a few stories outside of the NFL, maybe just one really. But we'll review what happened during Super Wildcard Weekend, some of the stories coming out of that. And also looking forward to the Divisional Rounds, which are this weekend. Big matchup Saturday, 4 games, Saturday through Sunday. And we're going to get to it. So welcome back, lady from upstairs. How you been since the last time you've been on?
Great.
Any news, anything exciting happening?
I got kicked in the butt with all my bets.
Did you? What kind of bets? Mostly basketball?
I did some basketball and football. Not that great.
Is there anything that stood out to you as far as like heartbreaker, like a game you can remember where you didn't get the win and you thought you had it in your back pocket?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember badly losing back-to-back games. I think I was 0 for 4. Okay. I think I told you that, yeah. What
I will say is I continuously learn that drinking and betting don't go together. And what I mean by that is that after the Tuesday night or the Monday night games, I know that right away watched the Lakers in Oklahoma City, lost 2 bets right away just because it was on in front of me and trying to catch up with what didn't work out in the Monday nighter. So lesson out there for all you bettors that drinking alcohol, not tea or, pop or water is what I'm referencing, mixes well with trying to win money gambling. That's where emotion gets involved. Mistake number 1. Lesson learned once again over and over for me. But going back to the sporting world, like I said, we're going to talk about some sporting news. And one of the stories that came out that affects the Toronto area, which we're from, is the trading of Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam on the move today from the Toronto Raptors. One of the few remaining faces from the championship team has been traded to the Indiana Pacers. Pacers pick up Siakam in exchange for 3 first-round picks sent to Toronto. Also, New Orleans was somehow mixed in there. Usually NBA trades can't be simple. They got to be complicated. Guard Kira Lewis is also heading to Toronto. So big change for the Raptors. First OG Anunoby. Then you have Siakam. Obviously, Kyle Lowry for the last 2 seasons has been gone. Kawhi didn't come back. A lot of changes, a lot of turnover from that championship team. Any thoughts, any memories from Pascal or just the thinking of that team that was the championship team? Anything come to mind?
It's sad. It's been a long time.
Yeah. What, can you remember those moments when they had that playoff run and, the bounce against Philly in overtime and not overtime, but almost the game would have went to overtime if Kawhi didn't score. It's like, what do you think the Raptors will ever get back to where they are? Or were, sorry?
I think it might take a couple of years for them to rebuild again.
Do you believe in Masai Ujiri, their general manager, to do it again?
Yeah.
You do?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, the Raptors are a team in the NBA, obviously. They're not, have the cachet as the Lakers, the Knicks, and Golden State Warriors, etc. So they got to pick their spots, right? And I think Masai Ujiri held on to the existing group for a while, tried to, hang in there, playoff runs, have a solid team. Things started waning. And I think the decision, to my understanding, is to try to build a team around Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes, his age is 22, 24, whatever it is. Bringing in RJ Barrett. And I think that's the idea, is to work around him. And I think it's a good idea. They smoked Miami tonight. They've shown some promise. So I think the direction is correct. And I think they're, again, waiting for an opportunity, a Kawhi-like opportunity where somebody is not happy with their contractual situation, doesn't want to play for their team, And if the Raptors can pick that person up for a year or so, they'll do it. So more to come for the Raptors. Big trade, though. And the championship years are pretty much behind us now.
Yeah.
Sad.
Very sad.
Very sad for the city of Toronto. But we always can count on the Leafs to get us back on track for it. No? No? Not so much? Okay.
I don't know.
No. Leafs are the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. So just before we get into recapping NFL action for your gambling pleasure, reminders that the Australian Open is in full swing, the first tennis major event of the season. And then the PGA Tour, American Express Open, is happening this weekend. So the PGA Tour is on its third event of the season so far. So if you like golf betting or haven't been introduced to golf betting, it's fun. It's very fun. So there's a whole whack of bets that keep you interested for your Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Have you ever bet on golf at all?
No, I haven't.
What's your impression of betting on it from the outside?
I just don't. I don't know. I really don't know. I've never really tried it. Not sure I would know what to bet.
That's where I think a lot of people stay away from golf betting. But I think I've talked about this before to many listeners of that this may be a repeat. But there's 3-ball, there's outright winner. But more interestingly, you might find value in guys finishing in the top 10 or top 20, player versus another player. There's a whole bunch of things, number of birdies in a round, number of bogey, just scores in a round versus the whole tournament. There's a whole whack of stuff. And television coverage of golf, people think it's boring. Do you think it's boring watching golf?
A little bit, yeah.
Really? What bores you about it, though?
It's quiet. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It doesn't interest me at all. I'd rather play it than watch it. Yeah.
I've watched you play it. You probably stick to watching it. Right? So.
But I'd still rather play it.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. But anyway, the situation, though, is that when you're watching on TV, they cut to so many different players. There's always a shot going on. There's always action going on. So you may think it's slow, but actually sit down and watch. Put a few dollars on it. I think you'll find it entertaining. Big event in Toronto this weekend. UFC returns to Scotiabank Place here in downtown Toronto. UFC 297. Sean Strickland takes on Duplessis. Duplessis is the number one contender for the middleweight belt. He was supposed to fight Israel Adesanya, but then Sean Strickland beat the shit out of Adesanya. Sean Strickland, I kind of let you know of an interview earlier today. He's very controversial. So it'll be interesting what he does. He likes to stand up and box, but what you want to watch is his post-fight interview. That's where he goes off. So he had a little something to say about Trudeau and some of the Canadian politics. It's an interesting guy, but great fighter nevertheless. So that's also coming. Good betting action there. And we're going to look back now on the weekend that was and the wild card weekend. What did you enjoy most about the football weekend that passed? Nothing? Well, it's kicked off Cleveland in Houston, and some of the highlights there is the Joe Flacco quarterback bubble has burst. 2 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, overwhelmed by Houston. The Cleveland defense fell apart once again on the road versus at home. I think the Joe Flacco experiment is over. I've seen it coming from a mile away, and this rise of C.J. Stroud, second overall pick, is absolutely amazing. 274 yards, 3 touchdown passes, and they head into Baltimore to take on the Ravens this weekend. So we'll talk more about that game later. Miami, Kansas City, what stood out in that game? Well, it was cold, very cold in Kansas City, but it looked like Mahomes had way more experience throwing the ball in that type of weather. He looked like he was passing like a normal day versus Tua, who looked slow. The offensive game plan, I have no idea what they were doing. Slow screens, seen a mile away from Kansas City. The one pass they threw downfield to Tyreek Hill resulted in a touchdown. But it just didn't make sense, the game plan Miami was coming in with. Tua did look very bad. But for everybody in this day and age where it's every week you look at something and the result of one game, now you're questioning, is Tua my quarterback going forward? He's in year 3 of his tenure, and basically coming off an injury-plagued season last year. I think it's a little too early to write him off. So I know Tom Brady Our boy Tom Brady had 7 Super Bowl rings. He did not win every year. All right? You got to let things develop. Let Tua learn from this playoff experience. He didn't start Miami's playoff game last year. So give it some time. Let's not overreact. Can you name the other Miami quarterbacks over the last 10 years prior to Tua? Ryan Tannehill. Who else? Can you remember that is worth or you would replace Tua with? You're not going to be able to find a quarterback that quickly. Obviously, if the opportunity arises where you think you can upgrade, which I think is odds are low, you're going to stick with Tua going into next season, and you may pay him beyond his option year, or you may say we're not picking up your 5th year, and then we'll franchise tag you if for some reason in your 4th year you blow things out of the water. So don't be stupid, but Mike McDaniels is now on the clock as coach of the Miami Dolphins, so that game plan was absolutely terrible. Moving on to Green Bay, Dallas. Wow. I talked about the Dallas Cowboys being frauds. I didn't think they would show their fraudulent face this early. They got smoked. They were down 27-0 in the second quarter against the Green Bay Packers. Absolutely horrible. Absolute choke job. What was it, 16 in a row the Cowboys have won at home? And something like that, whatever it was. And for them to go into that matchup and get torched like the Packers, like Jordan Love, looking like the real deal in Green Bay. And I can tell you Green Bay knows their plans. There's certain organizations that are winners, and they know that at some point we're going to transition away from Aaron Rodgers. And now it looks like they got their next 10 years planned out as far as quarterback goes for them. But Dallas, what are you going to do? It looks like Mike McCarthy, coach, is coming back. I have no idea why that he's not gone minutes after that final whistle. You should be taking the opportunity to get either John Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. Belichick should be the one you're going for, and sell the farm and give it to him. Full control, because you have a short window with the team you have, and that's if you continue to go down the road with Dak Prescott. Because I'll tell you what, Mike McCarthy comes back and you bring Prescott back, there's going to be a midseason firing. You're going to waste your time. You should have made this plan right now and made a bold move going forward with the Dallas Cowboys. They're frauds, terrible, and I've seen it coming from a mile away. Rams, Lions, big matchup here. The returning Matthew Stafford returns to Detroit, traded for Jared Goff and a bunch of other picks that turned out to be a lot of players left on the Lions. Now, Stafford did win a Super Bowl, so the trade worked out for the Rams, but the trade has worked out for the Lions as well. The program under Dan Campbell and having Jared Goff has been on the rise. Division winners, 3rd seed, which worked out because they should have been the 2nd seed based on that game in Dallas late in the year. And they're heading to the divisional matchup with another home game against Tampa Bay. So big win there. Surprisingly, the first half of that game was 38 points, and the second half was 9 points, which really, I'm going to say it, fucked me over on that one. So it really fucked me. So that really brought back memories as I just talked about it. Now, I talked a little bit about this storyline kind of in this matchup and try to get your thoughts on this, was that obviously Matthew Stafford being a former Detroit Lion, he had his family in the stands with his wife and I think 4 kids, and his wife had commented that fans were booing her and her children all night long. So quote from It's Sports, the city wants to win, everything is fair game, except the fans who booed my children. So one, obviously, it's not right to even direct any attention to family, much less children. They're there. They don't know what's going on. They can't absorb why somebody would be booing you in the stands. Not just their daddy, but actually booing you as a child. But on the other end, if you've been to an NFL game, I'm sorry, it is not a children environment. And under that hostile environment, which would be Detroit desperate to get a win, on cloud 9 to be in the playoffs, and he's their former quarterback, what was your expectation going in if you were in the stands? Respect from people, like when the game is at 8:15, and the majority of the crowd is probably tailgating for 12 hours. Yeah. I mean, like whatever it may be, 10 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. These guys are vicious. And I don't know. My recommendation, if anybody's out there and has not been to an NFL game, I would suggest experiencing it, but maybe leave the kids at home, the young kids at home. Don't wear an opposing team's jersey. You're going to have to put up a lot of shit. And I don't know, should Matthew Stafford and family be able to bring the kids to the game? Yes. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to, but the reality of the experience is going to be probably a negative one. And I don't know if it's worth going through it. What do you think?
Yeah, the kids are probably, that's all they're thinking about. They're not gonna think about the game. They're gonna think about, wow, somebody just booed me, right? Or multiple people just booed me. So.
And what do you think booing? What do you think they also were saying?
They're thinking it's negative, right? They're saying it's negative.
I can't imagine what was being said to her and her kids.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
So
drinking and yeah.
And I don't think anything to them is offside, even though it's offside as far as bringing up topics that probably not for the ears of children. So that's an interesting note in that game. So we move on to actual Monday, 4:30, the game that was moved from Saturday due to the blizzard and stay-at-home initiative in the New York State area. And the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. What to say about this one? I don't know. Bills won. Looks like Josh Allen was comfortable throwing the ball. They had the game pretty much in no doubt. Mike Tomlin, coach of the Steelers, looks like he's coming back. I can't see why Pittsburgh would try to move on. He is one of the top coaches in the NFL, so it makes sense. But the eye-opener was the continuous falling off the rails Philadelphia Eagles in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay blows out the Eagles. And Eagles got a lot of questions. They went to the Super Bowl last year. They were leading in the fourth quarter, close to a Super Bowl win, maybe a pass interference away, from winning the Super Bowl. Starting the season 10-1, and then failing to hold on to the division and falling out of this matchup very quickly. And you've seen, Goddard yelling at Jalen Hurts, quarterback for the Eagles, on the sideline. Just a mess. Absolute mess. Now they're talking about Nick Sirianni, coach, potentially being in the hot seat and out there in Philadelphia after going to the Super Bowl the previous year. And has he lost the locker room? Chaos in Philadelphia. Looked like a good situation now. It's gone 3 steps backwards. Ryan Kelsey, center for the Philadelphia Eagles, announced his retirement. A lot of moving and shaking there. A lot of veterans probably gone. So what do the Eagles do? Do they move on to a different coach? What do they do? I mean, I don't think they would move on, but I mean, if you have a Bill Belichick who knocks on your door and says, I'm interested, well, maybe you do answer because that's an upgrade. But just wild stuff. They look terrible. I couldn't believe it. I thought they'd get things back on track, but they didn't. Now, the funny part is I was watching a game with a gentleman that had the Eagles had to have 10 points, and they finished with 9. But twice, first half, they kicked the extra point after they scored their touchdown. Tampa Bay goes offside, so they decide to decline it, take the point off the board, so take it back from 10 to 9 and try to go for the 2. They go for the tush push, which they never miss, to get the 2 points versus the 1. But of course they're stuffed, and the referees missed a blatant face mask on Jalen Hurts. So they go into half at 9, and he's all good. Hey, they just need 1 point. Going to the second half, and late in the game, they decide at 4th and 8 to kick a field goal. Again, offside, penalty, whatever reason. So he goes back, and Philadelphia accepts the penalty. So the field goal is taken off the board. So now instead of being 13 points, they're back down to 9, and they decide to go for the first down, and obviously they don't get it. So twice they would hit that 10 mark, but they took points off the board. So that's always a better you can get screwed. Very screwed. What a shame. So that's that. So we have some interesting matchups heading into the weekend. We have the Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't know, as we have the 2 teams, the 49ers and the Ravens, had the bye. Will they come out rusty? But we're going to review this game first. First of all, lady from upstairs, are you excited about the divisional round this weekend?
I am so excited.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get your thoughts in depth in each game, okay?
Okay.
All right. Houston and Baltimore. Have you ever been to Baltimore?
Yeah.
Like you've been the Baltimore part?
Yeah.
Like Maryland, I know you've been to. Baltimore. How's Baltimore?
It's nice, actually.
Downtown Baltimore?
It's nice, yeah.
Really?
It's nice, yeah.
You haven't watched The Wire? No?
It's not bad.
Okay.
I was also young, so also lived in Scarborough, so
That's not nice. All right, so Houston and Baltimore. Baltimore is a 9.5-point favorite. Lamar Jackson, probably the NFL MVP, trying to redeem what happened a few years back when they had the number 1 seed and he came out a little rusty, losing to the Tennessee Titans, did not move on. But right now, the pressure's on his shoulders, the Baltimore Ravens' shoulders. It is Super Bowl appearance or bust. This is the only way it's going to be a successful season if they make a Super Bowl appearance, if not win it. But I do like the Baltimore Ravens to kind of put the Houston Texans in their place. I think, yes, Houston looked very good against the Cleveland Browns, but now you're taking a step up to the elite in the AFC, and Baltimore is the elite of the elite. And I think they do cover the 9.5 here. I think there is going to be an opportunity for C.J. Stroud to throw for yards, but the defense on Baltimore are ball hogs, and I think they'll pick them off once at least, maybe twice, and probably bring back down to earth that nice season rookie quarterback. You're a superstar in the making, but it's not your time yet. So Baltimore, 9.5 is going to cover. I also like the over 43.5. I like Houston still to put up a few touchdowns, but Baltimore maybe to run away with it late and cover that 43.5. So take the over. And then we get into props. Anytime touchdown, Lamar Jackson is plus 100. Why not? Lamar Jackson takes off. Red zone. Easily can see him walk into the end zone maybe multiple times, but for sure at least once. Plus 100, I'll take it. C.J. Stroud, passing yards, 243.5, I think is too low. I think he'll be chasing all game and putting the ball in the air. 243.5 over for C.J. Stroud. But also, if you're also inclined to maybe do an in-game or same-game bet or a parlay, throw in C.J. Stroud minus 158 to throw at least one interception during that game. Zay Flowers, wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, is going to go over 48.5 passing yards. His last 2 games where he played, he was 3 for 106 yards in that game against Miami, and also 9 for 72 yards against the 49ers. The last 2 games he actually played. He obviously went well past that. I think he is Lamar Jackson's go-to man, receiver out there. So Zay Flowers, big day on Saturday. Baltimore Ravens take it. On to the evening game, Green Bay, San Francisco. San Francisco also 9.5-point favorites. Who's your pick here? Lady from upstairs.
San Francisco.
Why?
Absolutely no reason.
No reason? Okay. So the San Francisco 49ers are favorite 9.5. I think they cover. I like the way the Green Bay has played leading into the Dallas game, and obviously the Dallas game. However, I think the reality is, just like the Houston game, is that now you're facing maybe the elite of the elite in the San Francisco 49ers. They know it's their time. They don't take the foot off the gas, and they will start beating the living shit out of the Green Bay defense. The Green Bay defense zone coverage against Dallas was spectacular. But when you have weapons and an offensive scheme from Shanahan, like we're going to see on Sunday, I think it's going to be tough for Green Bay to keep up. And they'll be chasing, which I think will take them out of their comfort zone. So, you have Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, they have Kittle, obviously Christian McCaffrey. Way too many weapons, way too many positions to get put in. I don't think that Green Bay will be able to keep up defensively. So some of the props I like in this one. Christian McCaffrey, just a note. I'm not telling you to take this one, but this tells you how highly the books think of Christian McCaffrey. He's minus 350 to score a touchdown. Now that's wild. Are you going to spend $350 to make $100 on that? Are you, lady from upstairs? Probably not. But just note it. It's just absolutely remarkable, Christian McCaffrey, the value he is. And you got Deebo Samuel, not his receiving yards, but I'm going to take his rushing yards over 17.5 at minus 114. Now, he's up and down. He's had 5 games this season where his rushing yards coming out of the backfield has exceeded 17.5. He's up and down, but he gets touches. He gets at least 1 touch a game, if not multiple, and there's a great chance that he'll break it open with Green Bay having to cover too many star receivers and tight ends and running backs. George Kittle, big game. I can see it coming here. George Kittle over 53.5 receiving yards. So yes, he didn't succeed against Washington in the last game he played. He didn't play in the game against the Rams. But prior to that, against Baltimore, he was 7 for 126 receiving yards, 2 for 54 against Arizona, 3 for 76 against Seattle, and 4 for 68 against Philadelphia. So Greg Kittle's your boy. He's going to hit 53.5 yards. I think he's going to be over that mark. Not a problem. I think he's going to be Brock's boy at that point. What do you think? Any thoughts? No. Okay. And then we move on to Sunday. Tampa Bay takes on Detroit. Detroit's a 6.5 point favorite. You been to Detroit before? No. Would you want to go to Detroit?
Not really.
Would you want a vacation in Detroit?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Did you know, and I told you this earlier, so Todd Bowles, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is being interviewed, or during his press conference, taking questions. And a reporter goes into depth about, just the weather. The weather. Are you going to be prepared for your weather? How's your team going to be prepared for weather? It's this such and such weather in Detroit. So how do you think your team's going to fare in the weather in Detroit? And you prepped to play, blah, blah, blah. And that's where he reminds the reporter that they play in a dome.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Now, he did do the classy thing. He could have kept going on that, like calling out the reporter. Yeah. But he kind of pointed out the dome thing and then politely answered and moved on.
Yeah.
Ultimate class. Obviously, Twitter doesn't feel the same way because I've seen it all over the place. People making fun of it. Some people empathetic toward the reporter. I should have kept this, but somebody made a quote. And they got like 17,000 followers. I don't get. Talking about, this is the budget cuts in local news that people are pulled off the beat to check out other things they maybe don't report all the time, and they're put in a tough spot to ask questions. I call bullshit on that because the fact is that I rely on the news for information. Hopefully it's accurate. And when you have those kind of missteps like that, you wonder, what else are they fucking up on?
Just means they didn't do their homework.
But the homework took 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like you thought that was the question to ask.
Yeah.
Like, well, how what led you to ask that question?
Your one opportunity, and that's the question you ask.
Right. So come on. I don't care if that is a reality that there's budget cuts and somebody's covering it. One question. It's football. It's not rocket science. You're going to ask the question. Realize where they're playing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have empathy for the reporter? Would you fire them on the spot?
No, I think what he did was good, that he was polite, right? But, I mean, that's our own job.
Yeah.
You need to get it right.
It's just awkward. And I can't imagine how embarrassed that reporter is. But whatever. No big deal. It is what it is. But come on. Do better.
I know. But the internet can also be cruel.
Oh, you're done. Like, you're never going to live that down.
Yeah. She's going to hear about it for many years to come.
Oh, it was bad. So in this game, I do like Detroit to roll. I think people are loving Tampa Bay. I think they got lucky taking on a train wreck in the Philadelphia Eagles at home, winning their weak division in the NFC South. So I think Detroit's the real deal here, and I envision a San Francisco-Detroit NFC Championship to get to the Super Bowl. And the Detroit Lions don't take the foot off the brake. I know Detroit's defense is weak right now, and they give up a lot of big plays, but I'm not sold on Tampa's offense. I know Baker Mayfield's had a solid year and great for Tampa Bay, but he's had some flops, and I can't forget the 9-0 win over Carolina when they needed a win, and they had the squeak one out against Carolina, and it's the worst team in football. I can't get that out of my head. So I think the Lions roll here. They cover 6.5. And I also think they cover their team total of 27.5 points scored. And they roll over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tampa Bay goes home. And Detroit moves on. It's exciting for Detroit. People are going crazy in Detroit. They love it. Yeah. Last but not least, probably the biggest matchup on the weekend and the closest matchup of the spreads is the Kansas City Chiefs playing with Patrick Mahomes. He's playing his first playoff road game in Buffalo. So he's always played at home for the playoffs because of the success in the year that they've had to have home field advantage. So Kansas City takes on Buffalo. 2.5 point favorites are the Bills. This is the game to watch. If you had to pick of the four, this would be the game. And KC money line is plus 122. It is hard to pass. I know the KC's struggled this year. I know that the big story about the receiving core has been terrible. I can't pass up when I see Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are an underdog. So even though they have a 2.5 point cushion, I'm still going to take the money line plus 22 and roll with it and see if Patty Mahomes fails. But at the end of the day, if you truly believe, which I do, he is the best quarterback in football right now, then you have to believe he's got to have his moments, and that is a game in Buffalo in the playoffs. It's not like he hasn't won in Buffalo before, but during this situation, obviously it's a new situation having a playoff game on the road, but you got to count on Patty Mahomes. For God's sakes, he's got a Head and Shoulders commercial. Come on. All right. Also, I like in this game is like Josh Allen. His over under for passing yards is 227.5, which I don't get. I know Casey's defense is been great. They've actually done very well. However, Josh Allen in big moments will be the gunslinging. He'll be out of the pocket. He's not going to be set a 3-step drop and get lit up for sacks. He's going to make a difference. He's going to throw a few bombs down the field. So 227.5 is too low for me. I'm also going to take Josh Allen over 44.5 rushing yards. You've seen a big 50-yard run against the Steelers. I got to believe they're going to design more running plays for Josh Allen on purpose, not just him scrambling out of the passing situation. So take that. But here's a good one, which I like. It's on FanDuel. Josh Allen plus Patrick Mahomes to combine for 500 yards or more, plus 100. So if Josh Allen has 400 yards passing and Patty Mahomes has 100, or vice versa, I don't care. Whatever works to get me that 500, I like it. I like it a lot. And some weekly specials you'll find on FanDuel. I was a little perched there. I had to get a sip of water. Some interesting plays, and I suggest check your sports book. They have probably some interesting bets you can take that are out of the norm. This one's on FanDuel, like I said, weekly specials. One of them I like is a combination of Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes to combine for 6 or more touchdown passes plus 100. I think one of those guys will go off for at least 3 touchdown passes, and the other two would be good for at least splitting 3 one way or another. And then, interesting. Here's another one. 60-yard field goal in the playoffs, plus 600. So that means not just this weekend, but the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. You don't think one kicker is going to hit a 60-yard field goal? Come on, desperation, like indoors. Maybe Justin Tucker goes deep into, a big field goal. So Super Bowl in a dome, why not? So I like that. And just food for thought. I'm not going to take this, but I thought this was interesting. Damn it, I forgot to write down the odds. But it was like plus 2,100 or something. That is each of the 4 games this weekend to have a successful 2-point conversion, which make you a lot of money. I doubt it's going to happen, but it could. It could. Each game having a 2-point conversion. You have teams trying to catch up. You have the philosophy if you're down by 2 touchdowns and you score that touchdown, you go for 2 so that you don't have to go for 2 the second time. But if you miss, you got to go for 2 again anyway. Or teams off the extra point get a penalty, they decide to go on the 1-yard line and go for 2. Many scenarios where these teams would go for 2. So interesting, maybe worth putting like $10 on it or something.
I can totally see that gentleman putting that bet.
That gentleman, okay.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. That gentleman has got some wild bets.
Yes, he does.
But it works out for him, so good for him. That is it. Any final words, lady from upstairs? Any tips or tricks?
The Bills make me want to shout.
Yeah, that's the only reason we got you on here today. So very good. Well, the pleasure's all been yours, including yours, lady from upstairs. Pleasure's all been yours.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So the Overrated Experience hopes you enjoy your football weekend, weekly divisional matchups, and please pass on the word of the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast to others. Follow us on Twitter, Overrated Experience. That's Overrated, EXPER2. On X, aka Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know you're listening. We're happy to have you aboard. So that's it. We're done. Over and out, everybody. Have a great weekend and hope you win some money. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, lady from upstairs.